Hey guys, today I'm doing a video on my 2025 CF Moto Z-Force 950 Sport. That's a lot to say in one word. Anyway, I want to kind of do a review on it and get into the finer details of a lot of the videos on YouTube that are there for the 2025s. A little more in depth on what they initially have done. We'll talk about things I like and things I don't like. So let's get started. Okay, first thing I want to talk about are these coilovers. The 2025 model took the same coilovers that the 2024 four-seaters have, which are these dual rate setups. So you have jam nuts to adjust your tender spring, your helper spring, whatever you want to call it. Kind of gives you a little more options to adjust your ride. And then you have your clicker settings up here. I think there's like 3 of them, I want to say. Nothing crazy. From what I have heard and kind of what I've seen, these are not rebuildable. So all the internals wear out, you can't rebuild them, time for new shocks. Kind of a downside, but they do ride really good. I've ridden Razors and things like that have Walker Evans, very comparable to Walker Evans in my opinion. Yeah, no issues so far, no leaks, nothing. So bottom out control seems decent. I have heard that people haven't had any luck adjusting these. I have not seen any issues with that. I adjusted my rears and they seem to work. They seem to have done the job and actually stiffened it up a little bit. So that's nice. Just a side note I want to throw in there. These do have a winch that comes from the factory. I think everybody knows that if you've researched any of the CF Motos at all. They do come with some cool accessories right off the get-go that some don't come with. I don't want to beat a dead horse too much with that, but I have ran it. It does work. I actually haven't needed to pull myself out at all, but it does come, no steel cable, which is nice. You got synthetic line. Kind of eases your nerves if you're in a kind of crazy situation. I do want to talk about, this is where the winch controller is plugged in right there. So you can run it from the driver's seat if you absolutely need to. Thought that was kind of cool. All right, guys, on the back of the machine here, we have the same dual rate setup that we do in the front. I haven't actually measured these coilovers. I don't know if these are longer or if the same for front, rear, left, right, all that good stuff. Not 100% sure, so I won't comment on that. But you can see the clickers right here for compression, a little better than you can up front. And from what I hear, the 2025 diff is upgraded and stronger than the 24 models. I believe the 24 models had problems with grenading the rear diff. So time will tell on that. No issues so far. If you guys aren't familiar with CF Moto that much and you're kind of just tuning in, checking it out, these 25s and the 24s came with this huge trunk lid, kind of just on a spring system there. Never had it come loose, which is nice. Decent trunk space. I have a little tool bag in there with some tools, things like that, if I do have to do a trail fix. But overall, you could almost fit a decent sized ice chest in there if you needed to, maybe even a soft chest. Log it back down like that, you're off. So looking at this dash here, I will tell you I was just at the dealership getting the first service done, so that way if anything happens, the dealership worked on it last and hopefully they will accept my warranty, right, as opposed to me doing anything. I get weird about when things are under warranty, but I was feeling a Can-Am's dash kind of pushing on it like I am right now. I don't think you could see that on video, that little bit of movement there. The Can-Am dash, the whole thing was moving when I was doing that. Brand new Can-Am. So Can-Ams are nice. I'm not comparing this to a Can-Am. I'm just kind of explaining the fit and finish, right, of the interior. Even though the seats only have 215 miles on them, you can still see no weird stitching, breaks, nothing like that. Fairly comfy. Yeah, they've been great so far. We'll turn on the key here. You have a real nice blue strip of underglow on both sides. Really bright at night. Obviously my garage lights are on and you can still see it fairly well. Here's my odometer, 215 miles with 15.9 hours. You can cycle through this. That'll give your error codes if you have any. That's your battery voltage, LED power, and your fuel alarm to say, hey, when you get down to 2 bars, you need to get some fuel. That's where I set it, that's where I wanted it. So that's that. You have your sport mode right here, your normal mode, 2-wheel drive, 4-wheel drive, 4-wheel drive front diff lock. That has to be engaged while you're stopped. You can't do that on the fly, unfortunately. You have your brights right here. I'll show you right up there. They're fairly bright. No need for a light bar yet. Next thing, e-brake. These e-brakes work very well. What I've been seeing is a lot of people are forgetting to take the e-brake off when they drive, and it is absolutely destroying the rear calipers. So if you do get one of these, make sure this comes down, because apparently you can't tell. I don't know, I haven't done it yet, but you can't tell if it's on, and then it just fries the seals in the caliper. All right, guys, the next thing we're looking at here are these little dimples in the plastic right here and here, as well as here. These dimples are gonna be spots where CF Moto marked out essentially where there is a threaded hole on the back side of this plastic that will allow you to mount rock sliders. So it takes the guesswork out of it. They have some on the top of the doors here and here. I'm assuming those are for hard upper doors, which will fit into this channel, kind of like my windshield does. Fits right in there nice and clean. You have dimples right here on the dash. I don't know if you can see those. They're in there for an infotainment center or aftermarket accessories to hold tablets, things like that. And then you also have dimples right here. Those dimples are going to be for snorkels, as well as dimples on the back for a license plate, if you are so inclined. Really cool that they put the time and effort in to do that. I don't know if other manufacturers do. I haven't looked at those close enough or owned one in a couple years. Maybe this is the new thing. Maybe nobody else does it. I don't know. You also have some welded nuts under the A-arms. Let me get my camera in there. There's one right there as well where my middle finger is, and then obviously right over there as well. Obviously those are going to be for skid plates for the A-arms. They're on all 4 A-arms, which is pretty cool. You also have some right there on both sides. I'm assuming those are for LED pods if you want them there. And then I have not figured this out yet, so if you know, put it in the comments. You got 2 threaded, essentially nuts welded into the roll cage on each side. I've looked at mirrors, haven't seen why those would be there, so I'm not too sure what they are. Maybe it's for the hard surround, anything like that. Not too sure, so if you know, throw it in the comments. All right, guys, that about wraps up the walk around portion of the video. Now I want to talk about some pros and cons. We'll go over some pros real quick. Obviously, you're going to have the great price tag. The fact that you can pay, this was like 15 grand. You can pay 15 grand and get out there and run with Can-Ams, Razors. I'm not saying you're going to keep up and beat them in a race. Obviously, there's YouTube videos out there of these things starting to gap Polaris 1000s, the naturally aspirated ones. And then you get into that more top end, that top speed, and the Polaris starts walking away from it. Obviously, that's going to happen. The saying is no replacement for displacement. That's still very true in all aspects. Obviously, when you start throwing turbos on things, it gets a little different, it gets a little crazier. But for 15 grand, man, you can't beat this thing. You can go spend 4 grand on a Yamaha Rhino from 2006 and have less as the suspension travel and half the power. So that's something that you really need to think about. Obviously, if you want to go spend 5 to 10 grand more, yeah, go get that Polaris. But I think these things are coming up as far as being the mileage I'm at. We'll see if the reliability continues like it has been. I see no reason why it would not. So, knock on wood, hopefully that's still good up to this point. I see no reason why not to get one of these. The cons, we're gonna have the shocks that are not rebuildable. Even though they ride great, as soon as they need a rebuild, it's just time for new shocks. So at that point, you can go aftermarket with Elka, something like that, and get really, really nice riding shocks. That's pretty cool. Even though the e-brake is helpful, that is definitely something that if you can't see that red flashy light on the dash, you're gonna burn up your calipers and melt the seals. So be mindful of that. And then the air filter. This is probably the biggest negative and the cheapest negative to fix out of anything. This is the stock air filter. I already replaced it. I was riding some desert. It doesn't look that dirty in person or on camera because it's like an off-white naturally. And then the desert dirt I was riding in was kind of about the same color. I already kind of tapped everything. There's some dust. I got most of it out. Obviously, I'm not gonna reuse it. I just want to see how dirty it was, but this is how it goes on. It literally slides on to the intake tube, and then there's a little ledge that holds it in so it doesn't back off. But that is all that keeps dirt from going into your engine, guys, right there. I don't like to chance it with my engine getting all that dust, and especially with seeing how all that dust settles right there. So I just threw a little bit of grease around the rim of the new one, and then when that one wears out, I'm gonna get like a no toil or whatever brand makes it foam filter, just like a dirt bike filter that also has a hose clamp. It'll give it a little bit more added protection and hopefully keep this thing running even longer. So that's about it though. That's all I got for the video. If you guys learned something, please let me know. If I need to learn something, you can let me know as well. I'm open to learn new things about this. Obviously there's not a lot of info out here, and I was trying to get you guys some more info. Hopefully it helped somebody, and hopefully we can have some good conversation and we can all learn something. So if you guys know anything that I don't, let me know, comment, watch the video more and more, get my views up, anything like that. Thanks, guys.